Welcome to a journey into the shadows of the North. You are listening to the most terrifying Nordic folklore. Tonight, we settle into the silence of the old Scandinavian wilderness to uncover a secret that has haunted sleepers for 1,000 years. Prepare yourself for the story of the thief of breath. Let the dark be your guide. In the far north, the darkness is not merely the absence of light. It is a presence. It is a thick, velvety weight that settles over the fjords and the deep pine barrens of Scandinavia. For centuries, the people of the north have lived by a different clock, one dictated by the great dark. In the winter, the sun is a ghost, a pale memory that barely brushes the horizon before retreating back into the earth. When the sun vanishes, the world changes. The familiar landmarks of the village, the well, the barn, the edge of the woods, they all become alien. Shadows stretch and distort into shapes that seem to breathe. The wind carries voices that do not belong to the living. Our ancestors understood that we share this land with things that do not breathe as we do. They knew that when you close your eyes at night, you are never truly alone. Tonight we speak of the most intimate terror. Not the giant in the mountain or the spirit in the waterfall, but the shadow that enters your bedroom. We speak of the Nattmara, the night Mare, the thief of breath. Do you know the feeling? You are drifting in that thin, fragile space between wakefulness and sleep. Your body has become heavy, anchored to the mattress. Your thoughts are beginning to dissolve into the surreal imagery of dreams. And then, suddenly, the air changes. The room feels smaller. A pressure begins to build in the corners of the ceiling. You want to turn over, to pull the blanket higher, but your limbs refuse to obey. You are awake. Your eyes move. Your mind is sharp, but your body is a stone. Then comes the weight. It starts at your feet and moves upward, slow and deliberate. It settles on your chest. It feels like a bag of wet sand, or a leaden plate, or a cold, skeletal hand pressing down on your lungs. You try to inhale, but the air will not come. You'll try to scream, but your voice is trapped in your throat, a silent vibration against your teeth. In the old tongue, this was not called a medical condition. It was called being marridden, to be ridden by the mare, because in the dark of the 1800s, in a small timber cabin lit only by the dying embers of a hearth, there was no doubt something was sitting on you. Something was looking at you. Something was stealing the very air from your body. What is the Mare? To understand her, we must look at the folklore of Sweden, Norway, and Iceland. She is not a demon from a distant hell, nor is she a ghost of the dead. She is something far more tragic and unsettling. The Mare is often a woman. In life, she might be your neighbor, a girl from the next farm over, or even a distant relative. But she is cursed. Some legends say a woman becomes a mare if she is born under a specific moon, or if her mother used a forbidden ritual to bypass the pains of childbirth. It was whispered in the shadows of the hayloft that if a woman crawled through a foal's placentae, stretched between 4 sticks, to avoid the agony of labor, her daughters would pay the price. They would become mares, and her sons would become werewolves. This is the tragedy of the Nordic mare. She does not choose her fate. When the sun sets and the household sleeps, her soul is wrenched from her body. While her physical form lies in her own bed, her spirit, distorted, thin, and hungry, is cast out into the night. She becomes a skin changer. She can flatten her spirit until it is as thin as a blade of grass. She can slide through the tiniest crack in a log wall. She can pour herself through a keyhole like spilled ink. Once inside, she regains a terrifying semi-solid form. She's described as having long, tangled hair, pale as bone or black as soot. Her skin is cold, like the surface of a frozen lake. Her eyes are wide, unblinking, and filled with a desperate, hollow longing. She does not want your gold. She does not want your blood. She wants your life force. And she takes it through the breath. Imagine a farmer in the year 1840. He has worked the rocky soil of his land all day. He is exhausted. He climbs into his pull-out bed, blows out the tallow candle, and falls into a deep slumber. But the mare is coming. She has traveled miles over the snow, her bare feet leaving no prints. She finds the farmhouse. She smells the warmth of the living. She finds a knothole in the wood of the door. She shrinks, her spirit twisting and compressing, sliding through the wood with a faint, dry scratching sound, like a mouse, but not quite. She stands in the corner of the bedroom, watching. She waits for the breathing to become rhythmic. Then she moves. She does not walk. She glides. She climbs onto the bed. The straw in the mattress rustles under a weight that should not be there. She sits upon the farmer's chest, facing him. She leans down, her cold hair brushing against his cheeks. Her weight increases. She is heavier than she looks. She begins to ride him. In the folklore, this is why victims wake up feeling as though they have run a marathon. The mare uses the sleeper's body to journey through the dreamscape, exhausting the physical heart and lungs until the victim is nearly dead. When the sun finally crests the frozen horizon, the mare is sucked back to her own body, miles away. She wakes up in her own bed, tired, confused, with no memory of where she has been, only a lingering taste of copper in her mouth and a deep, aching fatigue in her bones. But the evidence of her visit remains. If you were a farmer in the 19th century, and you woke up to find your hair hopelessly tangled in small, tight knots, you knew the mare had been there. These were called elf locks. It was said that the Mare used these knots as stirrups to hold onto while she rode her victims. It was not just humans either. The Mare had a fondness for horses. A farmer might go to the stable in the morning and find his best stallion trembling, lathered in sweat, its mane tied in those same unbreakable knots. The mare had ridden the horse all night, pushing it to the brink of collapse. To the Nordic people, this was a catastrophe. A horse that could not work was the difference between survival and starvation. The mare was not just a nightmare. She was a threat to the very life of the farm. Because the threat was real, the protections were serious. Our ancestors fought back with the only things they knew spirits feared: iron and logic. The most common protection was nightmare steel. It was believed that spirits of the north were repelled by the civilized bite of iron. Before bed, a man might place a pair of open scissors on his chest or hide a sharp scythe under his pillow. The idea was simple. If the Mare tried to sit on him, she would be cut by the steel and flee back into the night. Others used the Mare cross. They would carve a specific geometric symbol into the bedposts or the door frame, a star with 5 points, drawn in a single continuous line. This was a trap for the spirit's eyes. It was believed that the mare's gaze would get caught in the infinite loop of the star, keeping her mesmerized until the first ray of dawn forced her away. Then there were the shoes. This was a practice found across Sweden and Norway. You would place your shoes at the foot of the bed, but you would turn them so the toes pointed away from the bed toward the door. The logic was that the spirit, being easily confused, would see the shoes and think the occupant had already left the room, or she would be tricked into walking back out the way she came. Then there were the Odin stones. These were naturally occurring stones with a hole through the center, found in riverbeds. People would hang these stones over their beds or in their stables. It was believed that the hole acted as a protective eye, a gateway that the Mare could not pass, or perhaps a symbol of the old gods watching over the vulnerable. As we sit here in the modern world, with our electric lights and our clinical understanding of the human brain, we have a different name for the Mare. We call it sleep paralysis. Science tells us that it happens when the brain's REM cycle, where dreams occur, overlaps with the waking state. The brain keeps the muscles paralyzed to prevent us from acting out our dreams, but the consciousness flickers on. The brain, confused by being awake but unable to move, creates a hallucination to explain the pressure on the chest. It reaches into the cultural back pocket of our psyche and pulls out a monster. But does the scientific explanation make it any less terrifying? Does knowing the mechanics of the brain stop the heart from hammering when you see a shadow move in the corner of your dark room? Folklore is often just a different language for the same truth. The Mare is the personification of that primal, evolutionary fear of being vulnerable while we sleep. She is the embodiment of the airless dark. Whether she is a woman cursed by an ancient ritual or a glitch in the neurotransmitters of the brain, the result is the same: the weight, the silence, and the stolen breath. While the Mare is the queen of the bedroom, she is part of a larger ecosystem of Nordic dread. To understand why she was so feared, you must understand the world she lived in. In the same forests where the Moor traveled, the Myling wandered. The Myling is the soul of an unbaptized child, abandoned in the woods to die of exposure. They are heavy spirits, much like the Mare. If you walk the forest paths at night, a Myling might jump on your back and demand to be carried to the graveyard. Like the Mare, they grow heavier with every step, sucking the vitality from your spine until you collapse under the weight of their sorrow. And then there is the Scogses, the lady of the forest. She is the one who watches from behind the trees. To the front, she is a beautiful woman, but her back is a hollowed-out trough, like a rotted log. She leads men deep into the woods, further and further from the path, until they are lost in the great silence. All of these spirits share a common thread. They are the hidden folk. They represent the danger of the landscape and the fragility of the human soul. In the north, survival was never guaranteed. The folklore was a map of what to fear and how to survive. As the minutes tick by and you sink deeper into your own bed, think of the millions of people who have lain exactly where you are now. Over 1,000 years of northern history, in sard huts, in Viking longhouses, in manor firesides, and in modern apartments. All of them have felt the stillness of the 3 a.m. hour. All of them have wondered if that creak in the floorboard was just the wood, or if it was the soft, cold footfall of something thin and hungry. The Mare is a patient traveler. She has survived the transition from the Viking Age to the Age of Information. She does not care about your technology. She only cares about your breath. She is the shadow that waits for the candle to flicker out. She is the silence that follows the wind. But you are safe tonight. You have the knowledge of the old ones. Perhaps you have turned your shoes toward the door. Perhaps you have a piece of steel nearby. Or perhaps you are simply listening to this voice, letting the history of the North anchor you to the present. The forest is quiet now. The snow has stopped falling, and the stars are like ice shards in the black sky. The fjords are still. The great dark has claimed the world for another few hours. The story of the Mare is a reminder that we are part of an ancient cycle. We are the latest in a long line of dreamers. The weight on the chest, the shadow in the corner. These are the echoes of our ancestors' fears, passed down through the blood and the bone. Let your breathing become slow. Let the weight of your own body feel pleasant, not oppressive. You are not being ridden. You are being embraced by the night. The Mare has moved on to another house, another keyhole, another dreamer. The north is vast, and the secrets are many. But for now, the story is over. The silence is yours. The dark is your blanket. Consider the ancient birch trees, their white bark ghostly in the midnight gloom. They have stood for 100 winters, watching the Mare glide past their trunks. They do not tremble, for they know the cycle of the dark and the light. You too are part of that cycle. Your ancestors slept under these same stars, fearing the same shadows, yet they awoke each morning to the crisp, cold air of a new day. The stories they told were not meant to keep us awake, but to give a name to the nameless, to make the vast, terrifying unknown into something that could be understood, even if only through a legend. Think of the old stone walls that crisscross the Swedish countryside. They were built to mark the boundaries of the living, to keep the livestock in and the wilderness out. But the Mare knows no boundaries. She is the reminder that the wilderness is always just outside the door, and sometimes it is inside us. Her story is the story of the human mind, trying to map the territory of sleep, a land where we are all explorers and all, at times, lost. As the warmth of your bed envelops you, imagine the cold, distant mountains where the Mare retreats when the sun begins to rise. Imagine her finding a cave of ice where she curls up to wait for the next sunset. She is as much a part of the north as the granite and the pine. She is the winter's breath. Let the rhythmic sound of your own heart be the only drums you hear. It is a steady, strong beat that defies the silence of the forest. The legends are old, but you are here, in the present, safe and warm. The weight you feel now is only the comfort of sleep, the natural settling of a body at rest. There is no skeletal hand, only the softness of the pillow. There is no tangled hair, only the quiet of the room. The Mare is but a story now, a ghost of a different time, a character in a play that is ending. The long night continues, but it is a peaceful one. The shadows have retreated to the corners and stayed there. The wind has died down to a whisper. The world is waiting for the dawn, but that is many hours away. For now, there is only the deep, restorative dark. You are drifting further and further away from the world of names and legends. You are entering the realm of pure rest. The history of the Mare is tucked away, a book closed and placed on a high shelf. The Nordic night is a vast, quiet ocean, and you are floating on its surface, safe and serene. The fire in the hearth of the old stories has burned down to glowing coals. The warmth is still there, but the flickering flames have gone still. The house is quiet, the forest is quiet. The entire north is wrapped in a blanket of frost and stars. Every breath you take is easy and deep. The air is clear and cool. You are sinking into the deep blue of the northern night. There is nothing left to do but let go. There is nothing left to hear but the silence. The journey is complete. The Mare is gone. The night is yours. Sleep now. Sleep in the stillness of the north. Sleep until the sun returns to claim the world once more. But for now, there is only peace. There is only the dark. There is only sleep.